Moderate and independent as it comes.
Pretty moderate Democrat.
I always knew him as a moderate. One of the most moderate.
Very moderate record.
The new moderate.
I think this is the new moderate.
Listen to the media narrative and the Democrat talking points, but I repeat myself, on Governor Tim Walz. He's just a moderate, down the center, middle America, average Joe. He is not, and we'll kind of explain some of the positions that he's taken, some of the bills he's signed into law, and how he handled some of the crises in his state. But listen to this. This is the media repeating the Democrat talking points about how just down the middle this guy Tim Walz is, when in reality the man is an extremist.
Western dad, like super clean cut vibe.
Everybody likes
right?
Tim Walz.
So plain spoken and relatable. As moderate and independent as it comes.
Pretty moderate Democrat.
I always knew him as a moderate. One of the most moderate.
Very moderate record.
The new moderate.
I think this is the new moderate.
Far from progressive.
He's right down the middle.
He's not just an old white man.
Tim Walz beats America, you know.
Talks like a regular person.
Tim Walz is the opposite of weird.
Walz is basically younger Joe Biden.
Regular old Joe out there.
Populist approach to fear on the Republican side, and the happy populism. That Tim Walz is on the ticket on the Democratic side.
Walz is a kind of happy warrior.
Happy warriors. Happy warriors.
He was certainly the happy warrior last night and seemed to be the happy warrior last night.
A happy warrior, a folksy backstory.
Are going to be very happy warriors.
There is a new happy warrior. Following the kind of happy warrior mold. Happy warrior mentality.
Wicked sense of humor. Look how happy the pig looks. That's good.
Was she talking about Tim Walz, or was she talking about the piglet in his head? I wasn't sure which pig she was referring to. Holy cow, the repetitive nature of everybody who falls in line with the liberal progressive ideology throughout the media and through the Democratic Party is astonishing. Now, I'm going to throw some things at you, and let me know if you think that this is moderate and middle America, straight down the center, not even that extreme of a person. Obviously, Tampon Tim, calling him Tampon Tim, the idea that he put tampons in boys' bathrooms from kindergarten, I think, all the way to high school or whatever, it doesn't matter what the actual years were. The fact that he did it at all is as extreme as it gets. Ask the country what they think about that from a polling standpoint. Do you think tampons belong in boys' bathrooms? I'm going to guess it's about a 90 to 95% no, they should not be. Tell me how that is right down the middle America. In 2017, we had a video about this. He gave a speech talking about fourth graders and 10-year-olds being able to decide which bathroom they feel like includes them, makes them feel like who they were meant to be. Ask Middle America if they think fourth graders and 10-year-olds should be able to decide life-altering physical treatment. I don't even want to use alterations, mutilations, we'll say. Ask Middle America what they think about that. Ask really all of America. Again, I think you get a 90-10 issue. Minneapolis during the George Floyd's riots, Tim Walz's wife said, I loved being able to smell the burning rubber from behind the guarded gates of the governor's mansion because it felt like democracy. Tim Walz didn't send in the National Guard. He just let the cities of let the streets of Minnesota, Minneapolis specifically, burn to the ground over effectively race riots. So in what way is this guy just a moderate, down-the-middle dude? And then you got all the other social programs, which admittedly are more difficult to argue against, even though I don't agree with them. I think a parent's first and really primary role is to be able to feed their kids, and if the government takes that need away, then what really is parenting? That's the argument I would have against the whole free school lunches for everybody, which, again, there's no such thing as free. It's all paid for by taxpayers, but that's, again, a more nuanced argument. Bottom line is, the guy on financial issues is incredibly socialist with the way that he thinks the government should be involved and spend money. Remember, some man's socialism is another guy's neighborliness. All of these things make Tim Walz not a moderate in the least, and yet the Democratic establishment media just parrots all of the untrue talking points that mainstream Dems trot out. In contrast to this, listen to how all of the mainstream media describes J.D. Vance, who is, I know this doesn't need to be repeated, an actual American success story. Grew up with his mom on drugs in a terrible situation, got himself into college, then went to law school, and then wrote a book that was fantastically popular among lefties up until he no longer was the darling of the left because he decided to attach himself to the Republican Party, which is just the worst thing that anybody could do. Pretty normal guy, married to an Indian American, not that that matters at all, has biracial kids, again, not that that matters at all, served in the military. He's done a lot of stuff and, you know, is more or less, I think, pretty average Joey. But that's not how the media describes one J.D. Vance. Check this out, and we'll continue to discuss.
And J.D. Vance is weird, extreme, and angry.
Utter humorlessness. The humorlessness and pompousness.
It's hard to believe that J.D. Vance could be any more extreme.
It's like a freak show of bros.
They have J.D. Vance, dark and ugly beneath the dignity of most politicians.
J.V. Vance.
JD is at the far extreme.
The most extreme.
Being one of the most extreme.
We need to recognize the danger.
Angry and mean and dark.
Cat lady hating sidekick J.D. Vance. This guy is really weird, y'all.
Everybody in America knows a J.D. Vance, but we stay away from him because he's weird.
Anger, chaos.
A hangdog ex-husband.
He was able to reach all the way down to a J.D. Vance.
Okay, so I think they go back to Tim Walz, which I don't necessarily need to know if you guys need to see all of that. We'll probably play it and just play it out. But the whole weird thing, that I think is the best example of accuse your opponent of that which you are doing yourself. Anybody looking at this objectively or hasn't been following the news, maybe they've been, I don't know, living under a rock for the last 10 years, if they were to come out from hibernation and look at the two sides, which side do you think that they, the objective observer, would consider weird? But because we all call them weird all the time, they decided to take that narrative and say, no, you're weird. Like, all right, good luck convincing America of that, which, you know, unfortunately, they may actually be successful with because there's enough liars who are willing to lie to their entire audience that, you know, could actually sway things. I'm just going to let this rest of this thing play out. Again, it's more of a compilation of how the difference that exists between the treatment of Tim Walz, the socialist, Marxist, crazy person from Minnesota, and the thoroughly reasonable and decent J.D. Vance. Just how the media coverage differs between those two people in the opposite direction of what I feel like it probably should.
Hope, optimism, joy.
Salt of the earth, Midwestern uncle vibes, the quintessential Midwestern dad.
Tim Walz keeps winning hot dish contests, apparently. There's some folksy charm.
Tim Walz is so funny that if he's good at this, he will release a recipe for a hot dish.
All of his time on the ground, you know, fixing F-150s.
Outside of a Norman Rockwell painting, right? He's small town America incarnate.
Midwest, your uncle, your dad.
I have not been this happy in years. He's the guy who is always there to help you, whether it's changing your oil, whether it's fixing a lawnmower, or whether it's helping to fix our democracy. It feels so good to have hope.
And I'm going to call him the coach from now until Election Day.
Coach.
Tim Walz, the plain-spoken fun uncle wwho will defend the people he loves.
Proud, the resilient, the hardworking, patriotic.
Ice fishes. He's a hunter. He does butter carving.
Yeah, I also feel like it would almost be media malpractice to not mention he was not the right pick. Like, objectively, if the Kamala Harris ticket does well, it will be in spite of her pick for vice president with Tim Walz and not because of it, which could not be the case if she picked Josh Shapiro. Remember, she passed over one of the, I think, best politicians the Democrats have in Josh Shapiro, popular governor of the state of Pennsylvania. Actually, I think the most popular, if you look, I think he's got a 61% approval rating. Most popular governor of a swing state that Democrats have to win. She passed that guy over because she's bad at politics and doesn't know what she's doing. Nevertheless, the media has her back because, I don't know, like I said, there's enough people out there willing to lie to people directly to their faces. Well, I guess we'll see how this goes.